Welcome back to the Authenticity Calling podcast. I'm your host, Ralitza Spassova, and today we have a very special guest, Teresa Syms. She is a master NLP results coach. She does all the things around your unconscious reprogramming. Teresa, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much. It's such a pleasure to be with you and to see you finally virtually, and to get to know you and what you do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's such an honor. We've been in the same sort of community and in the same group chat for quite some time. And yeah, as soon as you entered that chat, something inside of me was like, oh, I know her. I have a lot of spirit sisters and I hold space for women to come together and find their spirit sisters. So yeah, I really felt like, oh, I know her. Like my heart, my soul just knows you. So I'm really excited to, as you said, finally connect live online and almost in person. It feels like we're in person. So that's
As
great.
close as we can get at this point in time, anyway, right?
That's right. That's right. On opposite sides of Canada. So you're calling in from the East Coast and I'm on the West Coast. So yeah, we're making the bridge, which is amazing. Gotta love
Yeah.
technology.
Yeah. It's just remarkable. I said to my husband yesterday, what on earth? We were watching a delivery, you know, be brought to the house, and the guy's taking a picture with his phone. And I said to my husband, what on earth did we do before cell phones and technology?
Right?
It was a different world, wasn't it?
It was a different world. It was much simpler and a little slower, a lot of slower.
Yes,
And yes, you're right. We are nothing if not productive, for sure.
exactly.
Well, it's so amazing to have you. Just before we hit record, we were talking about astrology and astrocartography. And I was really curious. I actually just put my birthday into this astrocartography website, and it just showed me everything. And I mapped, like where I was born and then where we moved next, and then, where I went to school, where I went to medical school, and then I went back to teach. I haven't gone through all the different places, but every single spot that I put my finger on and the reading that it showed, it was exactly what I did in those areas. So it was so fascinating to see it. And so, yeah, I just sent you the website. I would be curious to see your reaction to it. But then the question to follow up from that was, have you done like human design or gene keys or kind of any of the other? No.
Nothing.
Oh,
No,
it'll be so
no.
juicy.
Can't wait to explore. I love exploring. I love learning, and I am a lifelong learner.
Mm,
So this is and a curiosity.
yes.
I've been called a detective at certain points in the last several years as I was exploring family history and how things occurred in my life and looking at patterns in history and all that sort of thing. So I was called a detective, and then I was told, stop being a detective. No.
Interesting. No, yeah, that's what I love that. I love curiosity. And I used to teach, I taught medical school and I taught high school life science and all these spaces of learning. My greatest gift to my students was actually activating their curiosity because I think that's the only way that we really truly learn is if we get curious about something. So I think I asked them more questions than I gave them answers to because it was that curiosity that then they would go find the answer. And that's how, they really learn from their own capacity, their own perspective from what they already know. And so, yeah, I created a lot of little researchers, a lot of little detectives. So
That's
I love
fabulous.
the detective in you.
It's fabulous. I was digging through family history, and there's a lot of unknowns, and I wanted to know, and I had this really deep desire to learn
Mhm.
about why and how, and find a pattern and explore that and keep going. And there's some breaks in it, but it's there was nothing devastating. It was a lot of aha moments that were created for me. So it's fantastic. And it's part of coaching too, isn't it? Is the questioning and why, how does this make you feel? What's the purpose for this? What's the result of that? Why are you doing that? It's just, yeah, the
Exactly.
questions. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Self mastery starts with self awareness. And I feel like, you're right. I think going down that rabbit hole is so important for us to be self-aware. And I think that's why for me, it's interesting because I have sort of two different communities of thinkers in my sphere. And some of them are, those thinkers of, if you're spiritually connected, God will always give you the answers, right? And so why do you need this tool, this other thing outside of yourself to rely on if you already know what is the truth from within? And so I think for me, because on the human design, I'm a 3-5. I'm the great experimenter. I love to test things out. I love to try things. I am a lifelong learner too. I get curious, right? And in that curiosity, I discover so much more. And I think the complexities of life and the interwovenness and all of that is just so fascinating to me. So I think learning, about the gene keys. So the gene keys are again based on astrology, based on our birth date and time. It sort of gives you all these different spheres. And so part of the spheres are about your relationship with yourself, your genius, your self-mastery. It's called the activation sequence. And then the next one is the love or the Venus sequence, our relationship with our greatest karmic bonds, whether it's your best friend, your parents, your loved one, your worst enemy, as we call it. And so all of those really karmic bonds, how are they reflections really truly of ourselves? And then it goes into the prosperity sequence or the pearl, or how we show up in community to share our gifts with others and how we receive our abundance, and that reciprocity. So it's really, really fascinating. I absolutely love it. Each sphere has a shadow, a gift, and a siddhi frequency. So like the enlightenment of that sphere. And there's 60 gene keys. And so they're 64, sorry, and they're coded as the codons and anticodons. So in the DNA, there's the 64 possible codes and anticodes. So it's really fascinating for people that are kind of in the biological space. It really shifts into spirituality and mysticism, and it's really, really fascinating. So we can definitely have more and more conversations about that if you want to dive into them.
Absolutely. You just lit the fire. So
Right.
you go. Thank you, I think.
Right. No, and honestly, like these are lifelong, like anytime anyone has curiosity around them, I always say pace yourself, because as soon as you open the door, you'll start to see it in your life. So if you're transforming a specific sphere, if you're going from the gift or from the shadow to the gift to the siddhi, anywhere you place your curiosity, you'll start to see it in your life. Right. And a lot of people, I like to warn people that as soon as you start to do spiritual work, get ready to see it in your life. Life will show you. Life is always the greatest teacher.
Very
So
true.
yeah. So when you take it with curiosity, there's always the curiosity will shut down when it's time to time to slow down and focus. So yeah, it's a
Oh, good
beautiful
to know.
one.
Good to know. Well, I look forward to diving into that, or not, but,
And
and I need to pace myself as I go into things like that because, never mind the word because, I have a tendency with an athletic mindset
yes.
that it's 150% or it's nothing.
Yes, I love that. So tell us a little bit more about your background, your history, and also, if you don't mind, just explaining the transition that you just made. That reframe is so important. And on this podcast, as much as it's like free flowing and authentic conversation, I also love to bring some education and teaching into it. So do you mind just sharing from that sort of NLP perspective? What was that shift and why did you do that?
Yeah. The NLP shift and the reframing is rather than using the word and but and because or trying, you just put a dead stop on your statement and you own that statement. At least for me, it is in my humble opinion anyway. Uh, as I move through the training and coming back from an illness that I've just had, you know, things just shift a little bit, and I had forgotten a few things or just let things slide off during the illness time. So getting back into this is perfect timing for me as I move back into my business and rebranding. And there I go again. I have a terrible habit of that. Anyways, it's important for me to focus on my wording because our unconscious mind is always listening It's always listening to what we speak, what we think, what we hear. And there it is again. Now I'm conscious of it. Anyway, it's very important for me to watch the language I use, because it sets the tone, it sets my intention, and it sets how I perceive and walk into the world
Mm-hmm.
and work with clients, and also self-heal and grow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I
Does that make
love that.
sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I've done a lot of work around the shift from the but to the and, the yes and. And so because of that, I'm really curious. What is it about the and that's actually you're working to remove as well?
For me, it is when I've made a statement, I always want to add
Mm,
something else to it, whether it be clarity, or, it used to be an apology,
mm,
or just, different thoughts.
mm-hmm.
And I'm learning that it's not necessary.
Okay, so to simplify, so
Yeah.
what I'm hearing, and maybe this is not what you're saying, and that's why I want to clarify, but what I'm hearing from that spiritual space is we place more and more contingencies in a way when we're and
Yeah.
it's funny because I actually caught this it hasn't I have not listened to Dr. Joe Dispenza's work until about a week ago. And my whole life, anytime I've talked to anybody in the space of like that spirituality, personal development kind of world, everyone is told, not everyone, a lot of people have told me, oh, you sound like Dr. Joe Dispenza. Have you listened to his work? Have you read his book? Have you? And I'm like, no, I don't know. I don't have no idea. I've heard of him, obviously. I'm not oblivious. I'm not living under a rock, but I haven't actually learned anything that he teaches. And so just recently I was listening to one of his meditations, and they're amazing. I mean, in terms of the energy, the frequency, the message, all of it's great. And I did catch one point. My spirit, as I was saying the meditation out loud, my spirit said, no more contingencies. I will attract abundance when I am grateful. I'm like, that's a contingency, right? That's a relationship that I don't want to create. I will attract abundance at all times just because I am, right? I exist. Therefore, I will attract abundance, not when I am grateful, because as humans, we're not always grateful. We do the affirmation thing, but 90% of the time, we don't really believe it, right?
Very true. Very true.
So like I don't want to place that contingency on my life to be constantly in this like positive space of gratitude and I know that universally the universal law is that when we are in appreciation and gratitude, then we attract more. That is the mathematics are there. And as I'm telling my unconscious mind, I don't want to tell it that that's the only time it can attract abundance. It can attract abundance all the time. So yeah, I love having these conversations around the conscious mind and the unconscious mind and how everything is a choice. And I love what you said about for me, right? I am catching myself that I keep adding things on, right? And that might not be true for everybody.
Well, very true. I mean, one of our colleagues sent me a video from a Chinese, um, I think it's a monk. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I was listening to it, and there were three phrases that came out that I've actually printed and hung on my bathroom mirror. No one outside me defines my worth.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and now I've forgotten the other two. I am who I am, not because of what I've done, but because of who I am.
Mm. The achiever in me really loves that one.
I will send you a picture of that. It is
Thank you.
something I say to myself every time I walk into the bathroom, look in the mirror, and there it is. And I repeat it out loud. I read it, I see it, I hear it, I feel it, and I absorb it. And it is very meaningful for me. So
I
yeah.
love that. Thank you for that reflection. I actually, it reminds me of a time I used to write on my mirror with the dry erase pen. So I will absolutely write that on my mirror because I love that and it speaks to, I've done the Enneagram and on the Enneagram, I'm a helper achiever, right? So of course the achiever in me is like, oh, I want to ground into that. Like I just get to show up as I am without doing anything and that's it.
Well, yeah, and I just, as we're talking about it, I'm getting shivers. And I'm usually a warm person, but the shivers are growing up my arms. So there's a lot of value to that statement. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for reflecting that. Absolutely. And I think we are in a hyper achiever society. Some of the work that I've been called to do is calling women back into our being, right? Rather than our constant doing all the
Mhm.
time, right? Really grounding into not doing. And it's funny, I was just telling someone about some of the masterminds that I've run, and a lot of the women are like, where's the homework? What's the structure? What are we doing tomorrow? And I'm like, that's exactly the point. You're not. None of it. You don't have homework. You just get to arrive. We'll address the things that come up here. Well, of course, there's a plan and a structure, but the point is to create safety in the unknown. That is the divine feminine. And so it's just fascinating to see women at the end of it all. One person out of the group will always say, I would rather have more structure. And it's funny because then I asked the rest and they said, absolutely not. I love this space of no structure, no homework, no, like it's not my responsibility to know the structure. It's your responsibility as a facilitator. I don't need to know. And for women to come to that place from our world of like micromanaging and having to be prepared and primed and proper and, like having to do so much work, it's fascinating to see how tightly some people hold on to that, you know, the doing energy, the preparing, the being, ready for everything.
Yeah, it's interesting when our being, doing, and having is out of balance. The
Mm,
different things that manifest in our worlds, our lives, our relationships. Uh, it can be very, very harmful, but yet when you understand it and you become aware of it and you focus on an area, the change is incredible.
mm,
And I realized 2 years ago that all of my life I have been living in masculine energy.
mhm.
There was nothing but work. There was nothing but do. There was nothing but raise the kids, look after the farm, take care of elder grandmother, do this, do that. It was all I had to, I had to, I had to. And there was no focus whatsoever on me. There was no time for me. There was no energy for me. I will be 66 years old in June. And last fall, I became fully aware of it by working with a naturopathic doctor who is one of our group and colleagues. And she just looked at me and she said, honestly, how long have you been running on empty? And I thought about it for a second and I said, most of my life. And the empty, there was nothing left anymore to even refill or recharge. My hair was falling out, my skin was, I've lost muscle tone. And from going from an athlete to, you know, losing muscle tone is, you know, kind of devastating.
Yeah.
And but becoming aware of these things and being willing to surrender, like she said to me, are you willing to surrender to healing?
Yeah.
And I absolutely am. And that's the
Oh,
journey I've been on. And it's funny, since that point in time when I said I'm willing to surrender, I came down with a virus. This is last October.
yeah.
And this week, I'm actually starting to feel human again and feel
Wow.
energy again.
Yes.
So
It's
it's
such a perfect week for us to connect. I love that. It's
exactly, well, we're
everything
lucky
being
because my
fun.
voice has returned. I actually lost my voice. I couldn't work with clients. It
Wow.
was just horrendous. And it was okay. It's what needed to happen. And I just let it happen. I laid on the couch. I did nothing. I read books. I watched TV. I just worked and I'm learning about crystals and chakras and a lifelong learning again,
Yes.
and just doing the work to heal myself
Yes.
first, last, and always. if
Mhm.
that came out right. But
How beautiful. Oh my gosh. You are speaking the words of so many women. I think so many people, but especially so many women. So many of us have been taught, whether it's from religion, society, both, to show up in sacrifice, right?
mm,
We always sacrifice ourselves first. Where do we come? Always last, right? And that's actually, that's the energetic pattern that I caught myself in as well, and why I've been led to, create these spaces and have these conversations with women like yourself. And thank you so much for sharing your beautiful journey and, sharing your story, because to me, that is what will speak into the hearts of so many women and help them catch themselves to say, wait a second, I don't have to keep doing this. There is another side to this. And how wise of your body, because it knows you better, to shut
mm,
your voice down and say, wait, this is time for Teresa to heal. This is time for you to focus all of your energy inward. And even then, like, I know for me, I'm somewhat achiever helper, right? As soon as I have an awareness, it's supposed to be for me to integrate first and foremost and then teach it. But because I get so excited about sharing everything, I just want to share it right away. And it's like, wait, slow down, integrate first, get to that place of completion, fill your own cup, and then overflow. That is going to be, I think, a lifelong lesson for me and a lifelong learning. And that surrender is so important. And it's something that, as soon as we do surrender and we're not looking for the next thing and we're not in that overachiever, that everything just comes together. We magnetize it. And it's supposed to be easeful. I don't like easy, but easeful. We're still
easy.
doing work, right?
Yeah,
But it's in a
yeah.
direction of alignment and integrity, and those synchronicities start to become constant, and it's just, that's the juicy life we're supposed to be living, and we can't do it on empty. You're absolutely right.
No, it's true. And the other thing that it opened up was I do have a traumatic background history uh, from most of my life. But what this surrendering to healing did was open up and allow me to take a different look and perspective at what's gone on in my life, how I've reacted to it, the choices I've made, and the growth that I can achieve by doing that. And one of our other colleagues said to me when we were doing our timeline clearings, it's time to open up the steel core,
Ooh.
which was my heart. And it's just time to open that steel core.
Mm.
And, it's interesting doing guided visualizations or meditations around allowing and
Mhm.
opening and healing.
Mhm.
I actually, for the first time in my life, felt such a surge coming from my heart. It was a unique experience and feeling that I've never had before in my life. So I am now aware that it's my time.
Wow.
So there's a lot.
I just want
It's
to sit in
interesting.
that. Like, that's so juicy. That's such a beautiful reclaiming. I'm just like, yes.
It's experiences that we have throughout our lifetime that we shut down. We
Mhm.
haven't got time to deal with. We can't afford the time to deal with it because we're working full time, raising kids, doing whatever we have to do to get through, and we just shove it aside. But it never goes away until you actually look at it, examine it, process it, and heal from it. And that's what led me into the work that we're doing.
Wow.
It
Yeah.
was a grief journey where there were, I decided I left coaching a few years ago and I took a 9 to 5 job thinking I just want, pardon the expression, a no brainer job.
Yeah.
What I didn't realize was I was walking into a minefield and a trap set by the other younger people in the team
Mhm.
that felt I was walking in to take their jobs. And I found this out afterward. It was chaotic. It was damaging to my being, my essence, my mindset. I lost complete confidence in myself. And this was within 5 months. I walked away to save myself and to survive and re-examine who I was. When that occurred, a month later, I found out my brother had passed away.
Wow.
2 months later, we lost one of our dogs. So I was just wrapped in grief, not knowing where to turn. I didn't like talk therapy. Been there, done that years ago. Very unhelpful for me. It has its place, but for me, it wasn't what I needed. So I remembered that in my podcast, I had interviewed a coach from Australia. And I found out, I remembered that she had gotten into timeline therapy and
Mhm.
NLP.
Mhm.
So I reached out. She was the only one I knew. So I reached out to her. And within 8 sessions of clearing the negative emotions, eliminating decisions, I was able to process so much
Mm.
and come out the other side
Mm.
of that grief story.
Mm.
Mind you, I miss those, my brother and my dog, but I have learned to, here we go, reframing again.
Yeah.
Rather than focusing on the loss, I celebrate the time that I had. Our dog was only 4.5,
Wow.
and she was just full of cancer. She was my energizing bunny and a big, beautiful girl. But I can celebrate now the time I had with her, what she taught me, how she made me feel. Same with my brother. I didn't know he was my brother until I was 59 years old. There was a big
Wow.
story behind that.
Yeah.
We believed we were cousins until we did a DNA test and found out we were actually siblings.
Oh,
So,
wow.
and then to find out he was gone
Mm.
was horrific. But then I thought, do you know what? I actually had such meaningful years with him, a few meaningful years with him. And I celebrate. I look at his picture now and I celebrate and I smile.
Yeah.
And I remember that what a gift he was into my
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
So the work we do
Mhm.
is what has actually helped transform. And with each awareness, with each clearing, with each, I don't know how you'd want to frame it,
Mhm.
uh, there's more opening happening.
Mhm.
And it's the most beautiful gift anyone can give themselves.
Mm. Mm, mm, mm. I absolutely agree. Thank you for saying that. That's so beautiful. And it's interesting because I have compassion for, you know, them not being in your life anymore, but I'm sorry for your loss is just not sufficient because that loss, it comes from an egoic place that we ever had anything in the first place, that it was our ownership, and that, like, even when I think of my son, I can't think of him as my son. I have the grace and the gift to be able to be his mother, that that honor that he came through me. And I recognize that he is a gift to the world that I'm supporting. And so it is so, it's interesting when someone moves on. But I know for me, when it's my turn, I want people to celebrate me. I want people to have a party. I want you to remember all of the good memories and all of the great things that we were able to create. And just, yeah, absolutely, that celebration. And I want your heart to light up when you think of me. I don't want you to be devastated or sad that I'm not, because energy, right? Like, we can always bring back that energy, that
Yes.
energy of that light that puppy was, right?
Oh, yeah.
Will always be there for us. And my mentor coach, Alyssa Nobriga, she created the Institute for Coaching Mastery. She used to be a therapist and then went into coaching because she realized that you know therapy really keeps people, as you said, there, it does have its value, But once it served its purpose, it sometimes can keep people looping in stories rather than moving forward. And so she created coaching with, energetic mastery and somatic transformation. So we do a lot of somatic coaching. We go into the body to actually transform the energy and move it forward, right? And so we do emotional mastery, and we do, some mindset work, some behavioral shifts, unconscious reprogramming, but it's all in the potential space into moving forward, right? And so that's where the coaching is, and it helps you, for our listeners out there, I'm not kind of mansplaining or whatever you want to call it, but to you, Teresa, because I know you know this. But for the audience that's listening, sometimes I forget that we have an audience that may not be as aware of these different terms in different ways. But do you mind just explaining a little bit about NLP? What is NLP, Neurolinguistic Programming? And what about that to you really lights you up to hold space for people? And you talked a little bit about timeline therapy too. In terms of timeline therapy, like, were there awarenesses, because I know you're very curious about past and family and different things that you became aware of as you went through your own journey, and from your own personal experience, and I guess holding space for clients, what is the greatest value in timeline therapy? Because it's so underutilized, because not many people know about it. And I think bringing awareness to it is so powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. Neurolinguistic programming for me is, in my definition, is the words we speak to ourselves, the language we use. We hear it, our brain processes it, whether it be positive or negative. It cannot tell the difference. What you say is what you will, how do I say that, Ralitza?
Will be, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. So when we're cautious of the language we use and the words we use, there's a great amount of a transformation that can come from that. So one of the things I love to do is, and I do this before we do interviews, is to stand within my own circle of excellence, which is one of the techniques in NLP. And this ring that I always put on before I do any coaching or any interviews or any podcasts, this is my ring of power, where I put all my energy and my focus in, and it goes on my hand and it stays there. And it reminds me of who I am, what I stand for, and the power that I have within myself. Timeline therapy it's a beautiful technique to allow individuals to clear the 7 main negative emotions of anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt, rage, and shame. There are many, many more than that, but those are the 7 main negative ones. As the practitioner, we don't need to know the story behind. It's as far as I'm concerned, it's none of my business to know what went on. The client actually floats along their timeline, and it's usually prior to the age of 7. It could be 0 to 7. It could be in the womb. It could be past life. It could be passed down generationally to you. Whatever event has occurred that has caused one of those 7 main negative emotions, it's there on your timeline. You float to it, you examine it from a couple different perspectives, and you take the positive learnings or positive lessons from that event. You bring it forward to now, and then you future pace it. So when you get to that point in time in your future, those lessons are there. They're positive, and it transforms your life. It transforms how you show up. It transforms your relationship, your professionalism, everything. And there's so many other techniques that go along with timeline therapy that are so beneficial. And it's based on the practitioner and the client discussions, which technique is necessary and at what time. Does that make sense?
That was beautiful. That was such a beautiful description and explanation. Thank you for taking us down because it is so important. You know, I did the training and I got certified as well with hypnotherapy and NLP and timeline therapy. And it's so fascinating to, because I do a lot of the work that I mentioned earlier around like the somatic transformation, the emotional mastery, and being able to weave it all together and know exactly when to use which tool. I think is so important. The timeline therapy is fascinating because you don't actually ever go into the emotion to feel it, to transform it the way we do with somatic work, right? Or you don't go into the story, as you said, the way that a lot of people do with therapy. You know, a lot of times I've heard my clients say, like, it actually feels like re-traumatizing because you're going through the story again and again and again. Like timeline therapy has nothing to do with the story, but it brings those positive learnings, and it's such a beautiful thing because when we think about the seven negative emotions, or we call them negative emotions. I'm doing the bunny ears for the people that are just listening, but we call them negative because they're lower vibrational frequency. If you look at the energy scale from enlightenment all the way down to shame is the lowest vibrational frequency. Those are energy. So that's why we call them negative, because they're on the negative side of the energy, which actually energetically, it's like an energetic sinkhole, I like to call it. It pulls us down. And then it allows sort of those entities that are in that space of that level of energy to come in and really take over our mind, our body, our spirit, our relationships. And so unfortunately, a lot of us have been programmed, right? Because our unconscious mind is just, it's basically a computer system, right? And when we consciously think of the words we use, we're recognizing what we're unconsciously programming to see the world as, right? And so it's so beautiful to be able to take those lessons and program our unconscious mind with the lessons instead of those downward spiraling emotions that bring us down into the end of shame, which is that at the bottom of that is the abyss, and we won't go there, but
No, it's unfortunate that it does exist, and I call it the black pit of despair, kind of, where you just get caught in that loop, and it's unhealthy. There's one of the uns. And I did forget to mention that after doing the clearing of the negative emotions, there's always the clearing of limiting decisions or limiting beliefs. And they're usually the four main ones. I'm unlovable, I'm powerless, I'm not good enough, and I'm unworthy. Start there, and it's amazing what just gets shifted. And as I say, we don't need to know what the story is. We don't need to know what the event was. The individual that you're working with, they know. And when you're doing the statements, the positive lessons, they always begin with I am. So it's a reframing of what was into I am powerful, I am lovable, I am a child of light, I am a gift to this world. It's whatever comes from your unconscious mind, because as we know, our unconscious mind holds our truth. It doesn't tell us lies. It gives us what we ask for.
Absolutely. And it's so important. Actually, one of my colleagues was talking about this, that she started doing affirmations every morning. She wants to have that more positive outlook on life and just to have a more positive experience in general. But I think the value of doing timeline therapy and working with someone who is, a professional in neurolinguistic programming is that it's not just general affirmations that everyone out there is practicing. It is about you, yourself, and your life experience. And it comes from your spiritual connection, right? And it comes from your own awareness. And it's because a lot of times people do affirmations thinking, oh, this is going to work just because I'm repeating words, right? But the truth is, our energetic system, our mind, body, spirit, and soul, unless your unconscious mind believes you, it doesn't actually pattern. It's actually more self-rejection if you don't believe it. And a lot of people say affirmations that they don't believe. And that creates more distrust between our conscious and our unconscious mind.
Agreed.
And so coming from that place of being able to, like, this bespoke affirmation, it's really tailored to each individual, because it doesn't come from the coach. It comes from the person, right? It comes from you when you're doing it. So
Exactly.
I just think it's so beautiful. Such a beautiful way to, whether it's a New Year's resolution or a gift that you give yourself for your birthday, or, a gift that you give someone else that you love. I feel like it's such a generous way to move forward in life. It's such a beautiful opportunity to really get to know yourself and to transform that sinkhole, that trap, into our greatest abundance, truly. And be able to step in with life, to see the juiciness, to feel it all, and to really, it is a transformation. It's alchemy, right? We're alchemizing the thing that sucks us down to become the thing that sets us free. And I love the picture in your background, because it's how it feels after you do it. It really, like, it's like embracing all of the light within us, and allowing it to shine. And that light, almost like it becomes, like, we start to radiate that light. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, thank you. Thank you for coming back to this space.
Oh, absolutely. My personal affirmation, if you wouldn't mind,
Yeah,
I'd love to
please.
share it. And it's one that I heard after I did my clearings and my timeline therapy is, and I have it in front of my camera all the time. I am a radiant force of healing and transformation. My past has shaped my power, not my limits. I rise with clarity, speak with purpose, and lead with compassion. I am here to light the path for others, turning pain into purpose and silence into strength.
Oof, that is powerful.
That is one I say to myself, and I feel when I speak it, I feel it. And yeah.
How could you not show up to be your best self in that way, right? Like, hearing that, wow, it's so powerful.
Yeah, it actually chokes me up. It just, it has such meaning.
Yeah.
And it's something that came out of a life of, and now it's transformed.
Beautiful.
But, not but, however, the learning is never done.
Yeah.
The healing is never done. It's always a journey. And that's the way I look at it. Every time you clear one, the onion analogy, you peel one layer back, there's another one that you weren't aware of. You clear that one and you heal that one. And it's always a progression. And that's what I love about this work. It is my embodiment. It's what I believe has saved me.
Mm.
And I was all set to retire, but no, that's not my time yet. I'm
Mm.
still here. I am here for a purpose. And throughout my life, when things were down at the bottom of the black pit, I always heard the words, and this come from a teenager, myself as a teenager. You're not finished here yet. And that's what's driven me forward. Those words, that phrase just keeps coming back. And when I faced a head-on car accident, that came back into me. I'm not finished here yet. I can't die. I'm not ready. It's not my time. I'm here for a reason. And progressing through life opens up doorways, and I learn, and I have learned what my purpose is, what my passion is, and why I'm here. It's not done yet, but
Yeah. Thank you for claiming it, because it's true. It's almost like that story of the eagle, right? The eagle flies and lives for 40 years, and then they have a moment where they can choose to let go and surrender to, the afterlife, or they can choose to pluck out all their feathers, to take out their talons, to break their beak, to go into hibernation, and to be reborn. And so it's almost this like awareness of, if you're open to me sharing just what came through,
Sure.
it's just this awareness of like a rebirth that you were able to claim, as you said, I'm not ready yet. Like, this is the next evolution of my servitude, of my showing up first and foremost for myself, right? And I think a lot of people that are stuck in this space right now of sort of that suffering, that energetic sinkhole, this is the opportunity for activating the healer within. And that's kind of what I've been called to create, Up to Health Global. Now that I've incorporated, I can start talking a little bit about it, but it is to bring together healers like yourself, like so many people around the world that have actually claimed their rebirth, right? And to actually serve in that space, to educate, to, hold space for. But in waking up to that within ourselves, we're able to see the greatness of the person across from us. So instead of the disease model that I was brought up in medicine, seeing the person and trying to figure out what their disorder is, what their dis-ease is, right?
Yes,
We take,
dis-ease.
we take dis-ease and we transform it into possibilities, right? And so rather than just maintaining the disease by removing symptoms, right? We do symptomatology, right? When we define that disease or diagnosis, we're taking a patient and a person and seeing them as whole instead of broken. Instead of maintaining their brokenness, we hold them in this light of, endless possibilities. And so as we see people as whole, we then pour into that possibility of them unconsciously, but that actually grounds the energy around them and what they are able to create. And so as healers, we have a really important mission on this planet to hold people as whole, right? To really see them in their greatness. And if we don't, we shouldn't be their partner in their wellness journey, right?
Exactly. And I've actually run across a couple clients like that who were absolutely unwilling
Mm-hmm.
or not ready.
Mm-hmm.
And one client actually, we found the trigger and it was total shutdown. And it was like,
Yeah.
no matter what I said, holding space, there was the client was not open.
Mm-hmm.
So there comes a point when we're not miracle workers. I could never claim that. I can only assist the client through their journey
Mm-hmm.
and facilitate the growth and the change and development. You can only do so much. You can take them there. So, there's been some difficult conversations, and there's been a couple clients where, I haven't had my boundaries in place solidly enough,
Mm-hmm.
and you get affected.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But as I grow as a coach, as I grow as a practitioner, and I understand where the boundaries are, and I keep my bubble well around me.
Yes. Yeah.
And I hold space and I have compassion
Mm-hmm.
and empathy, but I will not allow it to infiltrate who I am. That's not my journey.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. It's so graceful um, to respect a person's resistance, right? Maybe it's not their time. Maybe it's not, and I think it's really important that we have these conversations too, because I think in the coaching space and in the healing space, a lot of people, I think, the system is creating coaches at such a fast pace that level of responsibility, that level of safety, that trauma informed lens is not always taught and respected and applied. Is that it's not about you as the coach, right? It's when we get to that place, oh, we have to help this person. It's because we're making it about us, and actually they're feeling it, and that's why oftentimes they're like, not now. We have to respect that, right? And us holding that space, right, of compassion and love and trust in their own body, showing them the truth of what is. It's not time. And that actually helps the ego to surrender, is being able to say, I hear you, we'll step away. It's, I accept you as you are. And then oftentimes after that, ironically, they soften, right? And then they're ready for that next level. And sometimes we're meant to. Like I had a therapist one time, I call her more of like a spirit mom than really a therapist, because she was very much on that, spiritual journey. She said, not everybody is here to transform it. Not everybody is here to heal. Not everybody is here to get to that level of enlightenment. Some people came to this lifetime to suffer.
Very good point. And
And I had
that
a
there's
really
truth
hard
to that.
time with that. I had a really hard time with that. To this day, I have a hard time with that because of my mission and because of what I'm being brought here to hold space for, right? It is really hard to accept that some people are here to suffer.
Well, and you know, that's interesting. And I agree with that because in my youth, younger years, up until about 15 years ago, that was my journey. I felt, why am I here? It's all disaster, doom and gloom, you know, you name it, and I felt it. But however, doing the work that I'm doing, and the training and the understanding and the spirit guides, I've understood that I needed to go through that all to have those lessons to be able to teach and help others.
And help yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And you know, it's interesting because 4 years ago I had an accident at our Thanksgiving. I
Mm,
fell off my deck
mm,
and I had a compression fracture in my spine during COVID. So there was very little medical help available. It was here, have some morphine and go home and rest. Pardon?
wow.
Yeah. So the working with the physiotherapist that I had from years ago after my car accident, all that lessons that she had taught me, which I still hear in my head
Mhm.
every day of my life, gave me the strength to advocate for myself, work on myself, and take the time and make the time to heal my body. I'm walking and able to do a lot more than I thought I would have been able to do after that. Uh, yes, it slowed me down. Yes, it was another trauma, but it's also been cleared. And whether I understand the mission of why that happened,
Yeah.
it was probably to slow me down because I was going at 150% again and not paying attention to me.
Yeah.
So the unconscious mind has its way of putting things in your path that will make you listen. That's my version of what happened and why. And I was home alone that day, except for the dogs being outside. You know, I didn't know how I was going to get in the house to the phone to call for help.
Mhm.
But the inner strength that we all possess, the the will, as a friend of mine calls it, grit.
Yes.
Uh, what is it? Oh my goodness, she's going to get upset with me now. Can't think of the terms.
That's okay.
Growth, resilience, integrity, and tenacity. That's it.
Right.
Grit.
I love it.
That's what I demonstrated that day. And I was able to just say to myself, I have to get up, get to the phone. There's the couch, call for help.
Mm.
And I don't know how I did it. To this day, I could not tell you what occurred within me to be able to do that. But we are all guided, I believe, divinely. And that I needed to have that lesson. So
Absolutely. That you are that superhuman, right? Like you're capable of anything. It's absolutely true. You know, when I hear stories of like mothers going on hikes in the forest with their child and they kill a cougar because it came after their child. Like these are superhuman things that activate within us. It's our human nature to yeah, to really be that. So yeah, I really appreciate all of the energy and the time and the focus that goes into cultivating that strength and resilience and grit, right, within ourselves, to remind ourselves to show up for ourselves first and foremost, to fill our cup and to overflow into all the people we're meant to touch and teach and whatever lessons we have to be able to share is such a beautiful journey to be on. And yeah, I just really appreciate your trust and your showing up for this space. And I love that that awareness of we had scheduled something in December and you were like, I have lost my voice actually, so I can't. What? Can't can't come to
Hmm.
the podcast. And it was obviously because you had such an important message to share, coming out of that journey. And I just so appreciate, so appreciate you, your perspective, everything you've shared is such a gift. If somebody was listening and wanted to work with you, how can they get in touch with you, Teresa?
They can find me on social media. I'm Teresa Syms. My business is called Ascend You Coaching. So ASCENDU Coaching. I'm on LinkedIn. You can send me an email at info@ascenducoaching.com. They can connect with me through you if that's all right with you, Ralitza. I'd be happy to have a conversation with anyone who is looking to explore what's going on and how they can change it. And I thank you so much for this space and the time and the patience of having to reschedule because my voice was, you know, needing some rest. So
Absolutely. You needed your own time and energy for yourself. You needed to turn in, and what a beautiful gift to give yourself. So I never accept apologies because they're absolutely unnecessary. I so trust divine timing. So I really appreciate that you did take the time to turn in and that you didn't just bypass that and say, I'm going to try to do it anyways. Or, a lot of people we have that tendency, right? To overcompensate and just do the thing anyways. And yeah, and that masculine energy of, go, go, go. But so beautiful that you were able to, and you're able to be that reflection of possibilities when we step off the hamster wheel and we get out of the rat race and we say, no, no more. This is not for me. I'm turning in. I'm going to give it to myself. I'm going to lay on the couch and read. Oh, that's so generous. Because what you've created is so much capacity to support others. So thank you, Teresa. And I just want to spell it out for those people that are listening. It's Teresa, and last name is Syms, Syms. And I'll have it in the show notes as well for anybody that wants to check out Teresa and connect for that beautiful conversation. But thank you for showing up. And it's a really the eagle's journey. It's not an easy thing to choose to transform and to go into that next evolution. And I thank you for your grace, your grit. So appreciate your patience. Even today, I was running late. I was with another client right before this. But we have so much to give to each other in this space of openness and trust in universal timing. And I'm so grateful for you. So I look forward to continuing this journey together. And yeah, so beautiful.
I appreciate your time and this space that you've created. And I am so glad we connected in the right time when the universe meant us to connect.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're such a gift, Teresa. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a beautiful week ahead.
You as well. Thank you so much.
Okay.